Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Do More with Less. We talk to the world's top marketing leaders to understand and share how individuals and teams are responding to that very blunt instruction to do more with less. Today I'm talking to one of my favourite figures in B2B marketing in Luan Wise. Luan, your LinkedIn bio tells your audience that you are a marketing consultant, a speaker and trainer, a sharer of social media updates and industry insights, and I know that because I log on once a month for the social media briefing, an author, 7 times, coming up to 7 and 8, a PhD student. You've also delivered a TED Talk on the topic of social media as a force for good. You, as I said, you co-host and curate the monthly social briefing that many of us benefit from. And you were named last year as number 11 in the top 100 marketing influencers 2025 by TFM&A. Where does it start and stop, Luan?
I think my consultancy work right now is partly teaching, because it's kind of taking feedback, taking questions, and then sharing advice. So I like to think that all the work I kind of do, all those things that you just talked about, kind of feed into each other. Like I read the news every day. That then means when I have a conversation with a client, I share that news and analyze what it means for them. When I write, I'm taking that news into my writing. I'm thinking about questions, and I might take that back into a training session and with clients. So although it kind of sounds like a lot, I think that it does kind of wrap up to a big picture together and all feeds into each other.
Well, when it comes to our audience, they are looking always for short-term tips and long-term strategies on how to stretch their ingenuity, their creativity, their meager at times resource and budget to achieve everything that they used to achieve with bigger teams for their organizations. And it's hard and it's getting harder. And so the promise with this conversation is, and I truly believe we're going to achieve it, is that I think we will be able to do a lot of unearthing and exploring of the role of social media, focusing on B2B. Let's start with a big strategic question. What role do you think social media plays in the most effective do more with less marketing mix? What's the role of social today?
I think my answer to this is not in reality for people who are in organizations running these social media accounts, or people that are kind of building their personal brands and building their networks as well. I think the challenge with social, and we have to remember social's been around for a long time now. This isn't a new channel anymore, but you're right. We're still using it for broadcasting. We're still using it for amplification. And internally within organizations, it's very much like, oh, have you popped this on social? Has this gone out on social? Rather than it being kind of integrated into what we're doing. I've always wanted social media to be just one channel. I still advocate, direct mail is still thriving, email is still thriving, in-person events are still really important. I think social has that, again, that kind of wraparound of everything, but it doesn't have a clearly defined purpose. It does still feel like that add-on at the end, or, has the press release gone out? Have we talked to people about the blog that has gone on there? And then the conversations when that does happen is all about, oh, how many people liked it? How many people have we got following us now? And if we were to sit and do a scroll through our LinkedIn feeds together, it would all be about reach has gone down, engagement has gone down. This is how many times you need to post to make things happen. None of those posts talk about impact. None of those posts talk about outcomes. And when I'm having these conversations, I'm like, just stop doing stuff. In my training courses now, I'm like, if anyone writes down do more, that is not your takeaway from this session. I want you to stop doing things. I want you to do less. But what I really want you to do is focus and think about the outcomes. And if that's that you really hone in on talking about one topic of conversation and tagging certain people in to get in front of them and then DMing, that's absolutely fine. I don't care about the big numbers. I care about the results that are contributing to business growth or impacts.
Do you know what's interesting? Just as you speak, it's occurring to me is that we make sure we haven't got money for experts in our teams anymore. There isn't money for specialists. So we have generalists, and then we might use specialists, partners, freelancers, agencies. Even within that, when social media started becoming a thing, and certainly started becoming a thing for me, I was editor of Marketing Week, so I was super excited. And it felt like an open new world. 15, 16, maybe 20 years on, we're sitting here going, I don't think it's the last thing. It's not added on last. It's in the mix in your head, but there's no specialism thought given to it. So it's almost like everything else we've got planned for the campaign. Oh yeah, of course we'll put it out on social. But because it's so general and such a given, nobody has any kind of, we don't treat it with the same need or deserving of the same craft or expertise as other channels. So if you are a direct mail specialist or a CRM database person or an events person, we don't treat it with that. We kind of just throw it out there. There's no specialist to do it, so anyone does it. And you're right, the only metric that we have of success without understanding deeper is those kind of the numbers, which and then the questions come from the numbers. The question you see most of all is, has the algorithm changed? Why am I not getting the reach anymore? And it feels like we're a tribe of clever, smart, dedicated people, almost religiously asking all the wrong questions.
Yes. I think that thing about like throwing it out on social and not giving it the time and craft it deserves, what people are doing is giving time and thought to the hacks and what does an algorithm want, and the conversations around, where does the link go? I don't need a link. It's going to harm things. And, what time of day do I do this? And how many do I post? Like, they're all really they are important things, but they're not the initial questions. Because to be honest, if it's a irrelevant, boring, dull topic, it doesn't matter about all those other elements. People aren't really focusing on what do people need to know? Is it really simple? Have I included all the details? Like, we're not in a world of clickbait or, teasing. We're scrolling through quite quickly. We want to know if a post is interesting to us. Who is it by? Yeah, I always like their stuff. I'm going to check this out. And we're just getting distracted. We're getting so distracted by noise and misinformation. And I think in part that's our own responsibility to, go through your newsfeed. I would teach and say, open up your newsfeed, scroll through. If stuff's irrelevant, tap the 3 dots in the top right-hand corner, get rid of it. Like, people can be more in control than they are.
So let's start talking about it as more than a tick box content distribution channel. Let's start figuring out what it can and should be. And then as soon as you do, there's difficult, awkward questions. So for example, organic and paid social. Is it organic and, or is it organic or? And do you think there's more mileage in do you think you have to do paid because the rumor went round and it became accepted wisdom that organic's not going to get you anywhere? Talk to me about how you answer even the first barrier questions.
So organic and paid, I think there's a place for both. Obviously, if you don't have budget, you're not going to go down the paid route. I don't think organic is dead. I still think you can do a lot of work with organic. And I think it's a big challenge. Particularly what we see inside organisations is often it's run by 2 separate teams, or paid is outsourced to an agency and the in-house social media manager has no control or budget. And, they're 2 completely separate things, and that's a mistake to start with. But if we go back to organic, I think the thing about social media and this perception is still, it's about the post that goes in the news feeds. And it is. We need to do a little bit of that for visibility and particularly around search as well. But social is about being social. And if I think about the way you and I have kept in touch, Mark, over the years, we spot each other's posts, but that usually turns into a DM. That's usually like me grabbing it, going, sending Mark a DM about this, and then we pick up the conversation privately. And I think that's where the magic happens. That's where the impact happens. That's where the trust is built, the relationships are built, and people are just really focusing on blasting out broadcast content and not on the social elements. And also I'd add to that, not kind of wrapping things up. The amount of conversations I have in boardrooms where someone will go, oh, we did this post and it got 150 likes, coming back to that topic. And I'll say, and what did you do with it? And I go, nothing. I was like, there's 150 opportunities there. Have you scrolled through? Have you seen, were you already connected to them? Is it a new opportunity? Can you reach out with a DM? Likes, followers can be valid if you know what to do with them and you're wrapping things up. So I just don't think there's enough kind of coordination and big picture thinking around the social media posts. It's still just about, I need to post, I need to get something out there.
It's like, I've seen some engagement. There's touch one. Let's build. Is that what you, when you post something and you and I might get in touch and have a conversation, the first in a month or something, we haven't caught up, let's have coffee. How you doing? Have you got another book coming out? How boring, you've got another freaking book coming out. You're putting me to shame with my one, you make me, never mind. But is that what you call dark social?
I think the term dark social has been used differently over time, but it's kind of come back into play, I think, over the past couple of years. And not just on LinkedIn now. If we move over to Instagram and what Adam Mazuri talks about in his own posts and what we see coming to be available in terms of our insights as well, people are commenting less in public. They are sharing things with their friends. They're sending things. It's not visible to us. We can't see that when we're scrolling. We can't see, it's not in the public domain so much. So we see now on Instagram that there is this kind of incentive to, will someone share this with a friend? Will someone, add this to their WhatsApp group and screenshot it? There's been data and research around, how much more content is being shared privately versus publicly. And
that's not measurable.
It's hard to measure.
Right.
It's measurable if you know what you're looking for, but it's not as easy to measure. You can't necessarily go, oh, it was screenshotted this many times. But the platforms are adding those insights as well. LinkedIn is now showing you how many people view your profile as a result of a post, how many people have saved this post. So we're starting to see those deeper metrics versus the public likes, but I don't think people are so aware of them or diving that deeply into what those signals actually mean and then how to respond to those signals.
So there's a gap also not just in how to use, but also what we can report. There is stuff that we cannot easily report, so that we can't either take the credit for it if that's your bag, or convince leaders to help allow social into a proper marketing strategy, because we are starting to get some of those metrics available to us. And so the lesson here was, don't for a moment think that you've rinsed or used up your interest or your audience by posting it once. So then that's about reach, and that's about me being able to turn to my bosses and say, guys, I'm hitting huge numbers with this topic. We should go on this. But you're saying there's still a further step outside of reach and numbers in the sort of classic sales follow-up that never seemed to infiltrate social media.
Yeah, I think, there's those posts that get the big numbers and, we all see them. And, there is a part of you that goes, I'd love those numbers. Yeah. But then you do also take that step back and go, but did it generate anything?
Yeah.
Like, what was the meaning of this? I think the numbers do give us indicators of what resonates and what doesn't. And we know that some posts will get loads of engagement versus others that might take you a lot longer. Doesn't really encourage the conversation because it's a bit more of a deeper topic or people scroll past. I think for me, what is interesting is for people to be really focused about how they're using LinkedIn. And if you don't mind me, I'll share a personal example. So a book that I published in January this year was a very different topic for me. It's about marketing and psychology. I've written it in collaboration with someone else. If I'd have just launched that book in January, Mark, even you, having known me for years, would go, oh, I didn't know she knew about this. Why is she posting about this? We had a 12-month plan when we were writing of how we would start talking about the book and the topic and the content and who would lead on it and who would share on it and what our objectives were going to be. Obviously, book launch, book sales, but also podcasts and engagement and who could review the book. And it took us 12 months to do that and seed that in preparation for the book going live. It was a long-term intentional plan, whereas I think a lot of content is very much a blurt out and you're, oh, okay, I know that this person is doing this, but where is this really going? And what do they want me to do when I see this post as well? It feels quite light, a lot of content out there.
So we've established that social can and should be more than a mouthpiece. And I'm really intrigued with this idea that somehow we've missed, if in 15, 20 years, we've actually missed so far the opportunity to mainstream the practice of deploying it in the same way we would any interest or lead, and giving it over to a proper follow-up process. But
Yeah.
is it as simple as, say, if I'm looking to give our listeners a clear direction of travel, is it too simple to say that social can best play alongside certain channels or certain use cases, so a new product launch or an event? Or is it so much broader than that? It's about the imagination. Like, how should I think about social in terms of its best use if it's part of an integrated strategy?
I think it's, you've kind of said the thing about how does social fit. Actually take a step back. We're planning this campaign. We're planning this product launch. What are all the things we need to do? And then how can social help us do that? So we've invested, I don't know, X number of £1,000 to be at a trade show later this year. We're going to be doing this. This is what we're going to offer. This is what's going to be on the stand. This is who's going to be there. How can social support that activity? 12 months out, 6 months out, on the day, follow up afterwards. It's the same as you would do. Are we going to DM our clients? Are we going to send an email? Are we going to do a stunt outside, which I know you've done before? Rather than going, I need to post on social media today. What am I going to post about? I just think it needs to come into those campaign plans. And as I said, it can be a long game as well. It shouldn't just be so reactive, and it's harder to see the results, I think, that way.
I'll tell you what, I do have a bugbear in social media, which is that we don't give it the creativity or storytelling that we should. It's like, I can't just say our toast is better than their toast. They're honest, give it a try. It's got to be, there's got to be a story. There's got to be a kind of
a plan around it.
Yeah.
And I think all too often there isn't enough of a plan apart from, I'm active on LinkedIn and I'm going to post on a Tuesday. I think if I can just add in now that element about paid, which I probably didn't talk about before, was when we have this plan, and if we keep the event kind of presence thing, that's when LinkedIn has this ad format called thought leader ads, which I think is just brilliant.
Tell me about those. I don't know those.
Okay, so you will love this. So this is where you can take content from an employee's profile. Doesn't need to be an employee. It could be your conference speaker. It could be your influencer. It could be your brand ambassador. It could be a customer that's sharing a positive testimonial. And you can run that as an ad to your target audience.
It's a testimonial thought leadership, though, or is it just a...
Well, no, they're two different...
Yeah.
So they're called thought leader ads, but I think it's more about it's coming from an individual's profile rather than an ad with a graphic and creative. And it just says really tiny at the top, like promoted by. You'll see HubSpot are doing this with influencers to promote their webinars. And I've seen some financial services have been doing this where they've got their leadership person, a leadership team to say, we've just done this big annual report. You can check it out here. And it comes from the individual, which is much more engaging, building trust, building relationships versus the, traditional ad formats that we see, which we know is expensive and harder to get a return on.
So this morning I just posted about I wanted to use a case study we've got on the website to bring people to our new website without having to say, hey, we've got a new website. That's exciting for us, but not for anybody else. I wrote about the case study, but instead of writing, we've got a great case study, come and check it out, I wrote in the context of, I think B2B marketing, the shape of it and how it's getting done is changing. Engage Tech does it like this, and this is how... You're saying that if I have the targets in mind, I can take that post and just reproduce it as an ad. It'll go targeted to the people that I really, and that's working. Yeah.
Yeah. So whoever's running your company page would go into Campaign Manager, say, I want to amplify the post from Mark, request, tick the post. It would send you a notification. You'd go, yeah, that's fine. Give permission. Then they would pick the target criteria, the budget, everything else, and off it goes. It's that.
And is that the newest ad format you've seen that's really impressing you at the moment? I mean, I know that there's a constant conversation over whether B2B organizations can make good use of TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, and I believe they can if it's well done. But is that the sort of latest thing that's impressing you in terms of ad formats?
I think it's the stuff that feels a bit more real and human and authentic. Obviously, I think it originally started out as let's just put some money behind a post, whereas now that marketing and comms people have got involved in that post and crafted it, so it does feel a bit more intentional as an ad. But it works, I think, and it's a way of amplifying that content to your target audiences in a much more human way. An ad is an ad. This is content. But I think it's great for people that are having conference speakers. Get your conference speaker to do a hi, my name's Luan and I'm going to be at this event in March. Come along and see me. Much more impactful than a I'm speaking graphic that isn't so engaging. So I think there's just different ways of doing it, and it works on LinkedIn. I'm not sure that kind of content ad format would work so well on Facebook or TikTok. It's a different kind of platform, but I think it does work really well on LinkedIn.
And comments and likes and stuff, that's just the same as?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay. So therefore, we've talked about people and resource, we've talked about social media know-how, we've talked about budget, we've talked about the wasted opportunity of sort of trying to perceive its status against other channels. Are we doing well? Are we as a tribe doing well? When you come and do your... And by the way, any Do More With listeners in on this episode, I would absolutely recommend following Luan and making sure that you tune into the monthly social media briefings. When I don't make it, I know about it. I am always worried that I've missed something new, because her and her co-presenter are absolutely up to date and bang on with trends, with numbers, with how platforms are doing and what they're offering. So please do get involved. I think it's absolutely... I see it as one of my monthly media diet staples. But do you think we're doing well now? Do you think we are... given that we can turn the word no into the word yes if we're gifted enough or trusted enough in our companies, are we using social well, or is there still a gap between where we are and where we could be?
I think the answer to that, Mark, is completely individual. So are people talking about you? Are people sharing it? Are you getting inquiries? Are you delivering work that you love to do? I think that's so individual, and that's the stuff that we're not sharing. That's not the stuff that you see in LinkedIn feeds. You see, I did a post, it got this. I did a post, it got that. I'm building my personal brand in a post, rather than, everything we do is building our personal brand. I think it's absolutely individual, and we'll only know if we're doing well if we've set ourselves goals and objectives in the first place. And I think that's the missing piece. If people don't know why they're doing it or what they're hoping to achieve long game, people will ask me, what posts do you think are working? And I'm like, unless I'm involved in it, I can't tell you that. I can tell you what resonates with me. I can tell you if it's like best practice around accessibility, but I don't know if that drove results, if that drove inquiries, if that drove demos and downloads, for example.
So you would have your clients set themselves a goal or a target of N number of demos or inquiries that can be attributed in some way back to social?
Well, I will always ask the question, what does success look like? Because you will know, having been in the seat as well, someone will say 2 and 3 months' time when you're presenting the results, oh, that's not what I was expecting, or that's not what I thought would happen. So actually you need to ask that question to yourself at the beginning of what would I like to happen, and then how you're going to make that.
But is there a piece where you have to understand that on any given slide or part of the reporting, you'll be able to show social's role in a customer journey, as opposed to, say, this was all down to a single post? Like everything, the best reporting I've ever done in B2B marketing was always where we worked back from every customer backwards and said, well done to the salesperson that just successfully sold into L'Occitane, right? With a $300,000 deal. But can I just remind you that L'Occitane downloaded something in June, went to our webinar in February, was in touch with downloaded our report in Q4 last year. And so if we were able to show the same, that's the journey, right? You'd be able to say, well, they liked this post, they engaged, and we DM'd them and asked them to come to an event. That's what we're talking about here.
Potentially, it's very hard to attribute any single item, isn't it? But I think take that step back and, like, when you're crafting your post, who is this for? And, what stage of the journey? Is it someone that's never heard of me before and I need to tell them about me? Or is a new event that I'm launching, they need to know about it? Or is this like conversion, early bird ticket sales end on, you need to buy it now. It's almost like knowing individually where on that journey that post is for, who it's for, and what action you want them to take. We have to be that intentional. This isn't about us using our Facebook pages to keep up to date with friends and family with, latest weekend pics. We are in a business role with commercial objectives. We have to be that intentional about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what that's going to contribute to our, the ultimate impact we want to have. And I think that's the word. It isn't about the numbers or the reach. It's about the impact or the behavior change or the action. And for me, that's sometimes just the bit that's missing.
And is are we right to be nervous and worried about being left behind if we don't, like, is social media changing constantly, like it feels like it is, and you get all this stuff about, the algo's changed again, which is why I'm rubbish. Is it like, are all of the channels updating and changing the mechanics and changing the rules so much, or is there something we can grab hold of and just kind of guarantee best practice?
They are changing. I wouldn't have a monthly webinar if they weren't changing, and it's a content format that works. Quite often they tell us what's changing, and I think that's the stuff that we should listen to. I'm not saying that people sharing their own experiences isn't something to listen to, because the platforms will hear about it, but when the platforms tell us that they've made a big change, like LinkedIn have just done about their algorithm, that's when we listen. But at the end of the day, these algorithm changes, the platform features, we can't control, we can't contribute to that. So I think we need to be thinking about what elements we can control. We can control how we use social that aligns with what we're trying to achieve. We can control our understanding of our audiences and what they need to know from us and how we communicate with them and how we make them feel. Do they trust us? Have they got relationships? I just think we need to, go back to marketing fundamentals, audience first. If we can learn some algorithm things that are helpful to us, great. But at the end of the day, we can't control that. So we just need to focus on what we can.
And final question. Are we about to become stablemates? Am I right in hearing that you are going to be adding a social media course to the academy at b2bmarketing.com, where I've got the Boring to Brave course? I
am, yes.
Is that right? Amazing.
Right, yes.
And who's that going to be targeted?
Yeah.
Who's that going to be targeted towards? What's that going to be?
Well, it's for B2B marketers. B2B United is that peer-to-peer. So I've shared a few potential titles, and I'll be working on that very soon.
So b2bmarketing.com, the site is B2B Marketing United, is soon going to feature a Luan Wise exclusive social media course. Amazing. So happy. Listen, Luan, as ever, thank you for spending time with us. Really, really, always like such a learning experience, but so delightful as well. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you for responding to my DMs.
Always. Thank you. We'll see you next time on Do More with Less. Bye.
Bye.